In this video, we are going to learn about the Japanese codes, various systems of classification related with the behavioral patterns. So, the behaviors of many species is almost in machine-like way with which the animal feed, fight, or mate. A behavior pattern may be defined as a segment of behavior which has a specific adaptation function. The principal behavior pattern observed in animals can be included in the following list, like ingestive behavior, agonistic behavior, shelter-seeking, sexual behavior, epimeletic behavior, yet epimeletic behavior, eliminative behavior, allomimetic behavior, investigative behavior, dominance, territoriality, and social relations. These principal behaviors patterns in animals may differ in animals, may differ from species to species, and some patterns are better developed than others. The various patterns are chiefly described below. First is the ingestive behavior. When some birds are seen feeding on grains, it can be called the simple name of eating behavior. Some animals let most of all of the food in liquid form, including young mammals. Some pigeons live in the liquid food like crop milk. Since the same organs are involved in eating and drinking and this behavior is very similar, it can be safely called as a ingestive behavior. Next is the agonistic behavior. This refers to the complex behavior of aggression, threat, appeasement, and avoidance behavior that often occurs during encounters between individuals of the same species. Agonistic is a learned borrowing from Greek which means to struggle. Aggression is equal to when an animal attacks another. Threat, a form of communication, intentional movement of attack. Appeasement, act of reducing aggression in situations where escape is impossible or disadvantageous. Avoidance, the reaction which allows animals to escape from actual or potential dangers in the environment. It is generally seen that the male birds upon their return from the migration start fighting off intruders. The eventual result of the fight is that one of the birds escapes from the another. The behavior of both may be included under the general term agonistic behavior. Here are examples in which the defended individuals do not always attempt to escape. When mice fight, one of the pair may simply hold up his paws in a defensive way or become completely passive. This kind of adaptation in which there is contest or conflict between two animals of the same species, fighting, escaping, or freezing may be included under the agonistic behavior category. Shelter seeking. Shelter seeking is a tendency to seek out optimum environmental conditions and to avoid dangerous and injurious ones found in almost all animals. For example, a paramecium simply move around until it finds a spot in the water drop which has those conditions most favorable to itself. As the drop dries up and conditions become increasingly unfavorable, the best place is sometimes close to the bodies of other paramecia, resulting in aggregation. This is actually a very primitive type of social behavior which can be called contact behavior. Higher types of social behavior take their origin in this simple adaptation. Next, sexual behavior or behavior leading to fertilization. Generally, there is no difficulty in recognizing this behavior as it includes courtship, mating, and many other related behaviors. Next, epimeletic behavior. Epimeletic behavior is a provision in behavioral terms of care or attention, suckling in particular. As a consequence of the sexual behavior, young are born. At first, they are unable to take care of themselves, so that caregiving tendency is seen in the parents long before the young are born. After mating, a nest is built by birds. The eggs are laid, and the female sits upon them until they hatch. Then the young are fed chiefly on insects fetched by parents. Sometimes this caregiving has been variously called the attentive behavior, maternal behavior, or parental behavior. But there are instances where care and attention are frequently driven by animals that are not parents or many may never become parents. Example in bees, the care of young is given by the worker, which is sterile female and incapable of being parent. Therefore, it is proposed to use a broad generalized term called epimeletic behavior, which is a learned borrowing from Greek, which is similar to nurturant behavior applied to the rearing and young, and the succurrent behavior, the giving or help to a distressed individual, and the other specialized terms used. Then it epimeletic behavior, care soliciting or care seeking behavior, soliciting maternal attendance in particular. So after the youngs are hatched born, they begin to show some of the major patterns of behavior, that to do things which is not characteristic of adults, like chirping or cheeping noises and holding heads up in the air with gaping beaks in young birds. This behavior shows calling or signaling food, care, and attention. Next, eliminative behavior. Connected with the elimination of feces and urine, the general effect of this behavior is to clean the living place. So young birds release the feces and urine in pellets surrounded by a membrane, and the parent bird lift this out of the nest as a part of their caregiving behavior. In many animals, there is no special behavior pattern associated with their own elimination. However, certain male young hawks have the habit of flipping the tail at that time the feces are released so that the material is thrown out of the nest. In case of cats, holes are dug and the excreta is buried there. Next, allomimetic behavior. It may be simply defined as any behavior where two or more animals do the same activity with some degree of mutual stimulation and coordination. There is a strong tendency of young birds to fly together in flocks, which sometimes is roughly shaped like a great bird. Movement of fishes in schools is the same act of behavior, often the contagious behavior. It is called gregarious behavior, tendency of animals to form social groups, such as schooling of fish, flocking of birds, herding of mammals, and it is a more general term that implies only that animals come together. It could be called imitative behavior, except that most people imitations imply learning, and learning is not necessarily involved. Schooling behavior is young fish which are raised in hatcheries entirely away from adult fish. Mimicking behavior, mimetic behavior, contagious behavior as another term used, except that it has been used to describe situations in which there is a model whose activities and appearance is more or less independent of the mimic. For example, the hawk moth is the behavior and appearance mimic hunting bird. From flocks, schools, and herds, it's become invariably evident that the animals are responding to each other rather than to the single model. Two kinds of behaviors can easily be mistaken for allomimetic behavior, and a number of animals may happen to respond to the same stimulus at the same time, or they engage in the same type of activity and stimulate each other. Next, investigative behavior, exploratory behavior. It may be explained in any kind of sensory investigation of the environment. Generally, the birds or those animals which have better developed senses of vision can observe their surroundings at a glance. But a mouse or a rat, dog or cat will use their nose and whiskers to know about strange foods, objects, etc. Those animals which manipulate things with hands, like raccoons or monkeys or man, will pick up a strange object, turn it over and over as they look at it and feel it, and then may also smell it or taste it. That is the investigative behavior. Next, dominance. It is a feature of social organization in which animals acquire a higher status as a result of aggression. Other obviously retain a low status. Dominance relationship were first noticed in the flocks of domestic fowl, in which dominant individuals tended to peck subordinate individuals when they would come into close vicinity. Dominant individuals are generally able to use their status to gain priority in generating food, resting sites, etc. Dominance is generally established in aggressive encounters, like if a particular animal wins a fight or a ritualized threat contest. The encounter may be repeated in subsequent occasions, but instead the defeated one will show submission. Once a dominance relationship is established, there may be no further fighting. When a dominant animal comes, a subordinate will come away, typically showing appeasement behavior. In field studies, it is very difficult to observe the dominance relationship unless the encounter is seen. But in laboratory studies, dominant relationship can be established by removing a pair from a group and placing them together in a restricted place. Dominant relationship is generally established by learning, and dominant individuals may differ from subordinates, both in appearance and behavior, like large size, prominent comb and wattle in a male foal. Naturally, male sex hormones contribute very much to the dominant behavior of most of the males. The dominant status has advantages in many ways, like unchallenged access to limited resources of food, space, females. In case of elephant seal, it has been observed that the most dominant 6% both inseminated 88% of females. As a result of fighting, the mortality rate among dormant males is 3 times that of females. Subordinate animals are slated above employ appeasement and submissive postures to be in the vicinity of dominant males and to profit from opportunities in getting food or females. In many polygamous species, maturity is delayed in males, and as the dominant male grow older, they are challenged by young mature males and eventually displaced. In case of baboons, sometimes site-dependent dominance is observed, like male X may dominate male Y at feeding site 1, which is near to the nest of the mate 1. but at the feeding site too, near to Y nest, male Y will dominate male X. Next, territoriality. This type of behavior is mostly seen at the time of aggression by some animals or intruders. For example, pairs of tawny owls inhabit a fixed exclusive area in a jungle for the whole of their lives, and they defend this against all others without calling and chases, and in this way they identify their territory. Their territories range in size from few millimeters to several kilometers. Territorial defense will have costs and benefits, and an animal usually defends the territory when it is economical, when benefits outweigh the costs, when animals defend their territories against members of their own species. On the other hand, defense against other species, interspecific territoriality, could have costs of correlated resulting benefits, but whenever aggression into others' territory is it is because of the overlap in resource requirements. Some species of birds exploit similar food and nest in similar places and defend mutually exclusive territories. Predator pressure is also another cause of interspecific territoriality, especially if the two species of bird nest in similar place, so that a predator may be searched for both at the same time. The intraspecific territoriality normally has three benefits, like feeding territory is there, mating territory is there. Next, a lek is a type of territory held by males of certain species and used solely as a communal mating grounds. Then predator avoidance. Another benefit of territorial behavior is predator avoidance. The territory and associated benefits can be summarized in the following manner, like associated with reproduction, securing a nesting site, aiding the formation of pairs, reducing the possibility of disturbance from the rivals, permitting females to select the most vigorous males, associated with habitat, permitting increased inbreeding within a population as means of more finely adapted to the local habitat, associated with food, animals become familiar with the location of food and water, permitting more time and energy to be spent in foraging, securing adequate food for the pair and young. Next, dividing resources between dominant and subordinate individuals with subsequent reduction of fighting and stress. Then associated with the predator pressure, disease and parasitism, permitting knowledge of location of shelter, dispersing which results in the allowed possibility of being detected by the predator, increasing the distance between animals and thereby decreasing the chances of transmission of diseases or parasites. Associated with limiting the numbers, preventing our overpopulation and the overexploitation of resources through natural selection. Next major category is the social relations. And the above different systems of behavior, it is clear that in most all of them there is an involvement of two or more members of the same species. In other words, it is may said that any one or the other may remain socially related and exhibit a so-called social behavior of the above. The ingestive behavior may be poorly a solitary process, but many animals feed other young, and in social insects mutual feeding is of common occurrence. Eliminative behavior may appear social when territories are marked. Agonistic sexual care-giving, care-seeking, allomimetic, territorial behaviors are almost entirely social, involving reactions and adjustments to other behaviors of the same kind. So here we have learnt various types of behavior patterns like ingestive behavior, agonistic behavior, shelter-seeking, sexual behavior, epimelectic behavior, yet epimelectic behavior, eliminative behavior, allomimetic behavior, investigative behavior, dominance, territoriality and social relations.